Maria stood alone in the grand hall decorated with flowers and ribbons. The laughter and music that filled the air only moments before had faded into a heavy silence. She could still hear the echo of her heart, pounding loudly as the whispered words of confusion swirled around her. Today was supposed to be one of the happiest days of her life. She had dreamed about her wedding since she was a little girl, envisioning a fairy tale with a perfect ending. But those dreams shattered the moment her groom turned away, abandoning her in front of family and friends. With every second that passed, the reality sank deeper. Guests began to murmur, concern etched on their faces. Maria felt their eyes on her, their pity stinging more than any insult could. How did love turn so quickly into despair? It was hard to comprehend how someone could walk so easily away from something they had promised to cherish forever. Feeling trapped within the four walls that once radiated joy, Maria made a sudden decision. She could no longer stand in that place filled with memories she never wanted to revisit. Gathering her dress and taking a last look at the spot where her dreams crumbled, Maria stepped onto the street outside. The sun was still bright, but it felt cold against her skin. As she walked away from the crowd, Maria's heart filled with different emotions. Sadness took the first place, but anger followed closely behind. She wanted to escape, not just from the wedding but from everything that reminded her of what could have been. With no destination in mind, she started on a path toward the unknown, hoping it would lead her somewhere better. Determined to find herself again, Maria began her journey into a world beyond loneliness, not realizing yet that this journey would change her life forever. As Maria walked away from the grand hall, the weight of her decision grew heavier with each step. The sun shone brightly, but it felt like it was mocking her sorrow. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she couldn't stay in her hometown, a place now filled with painful memories. Each familiar street corner reminded her of laughter that had turned to whispers and joy that had vanished into thin air. Maria felt a mix of hope and fear bubbling inside her. The open road ahead represented freedom, but also uncertainty. What if she never found a place where she belonged again? With no clear destination, she opted for the path that led away from everything she once knew. As she crossed the town's border, a sense of liberation washed over her, making her feel lighter despite the lingering sadness. The landscape around her changed, transforming from urban buildings to rolling hills and fields. The fresh air filled her lungs and offered a hint of possibility. Maria imagined what life could be like, a new beginning where she could rewrite her story. Perhaps she would find a job or even discover new friends who would accept her just as she was. Yet doubt crept in like a shadow. What skills did she have? How would she survive? Memories of her family's worried faces flashed through her mind, but she pushed those thoughts aside. This was her journey, and she needed to embrace it fully, no matter how daunting. As night began to fall, Maria sought shelter under the stars. She lay on the grass, looking up at the vast sky, filled with twinkling lights that seemed to guide lost souls home. In that moment, Maria made a silent promise to herself: she would find a way to rebuild her life and discover what happiness truly meant beyond heartbreak. Maria trudged along the gravel path, the rocky landscape stretching endlessly before her. The bright sun above beat down on her, and she could feel her energy draining with every step. The initial thrill of leaving her hometown began to wane as hunger gnawed at her stomach, and fatigue weighed heavily on her limbs. She had not planned for this part of her journey, and the reality of her situation started to set in. As she walked further into the desert, the air grew dry and hot, making it difficult to breathe. Each breath felt like sandpaper against her throat. Maria's mind wandered back to the wedding that never happened. The feast she would have shared with friends and family now felt like a cruel joke. She took a deep breath, trying to shake off the thoughts that threatened to pull her down again. After hours of walking, Maria found a small patch of shade beneath a scraggly cactus. She sank onto the ground, grateful for even a moment of rest. With no food in sight, she rummaged through her bag but found only a few crumbs left from an apple she had taken earlier. It was hard to believe how quickly everything had changed. Once surrounded by love and laughter, now she faced loneliness and hunger. Just as despair began to creep in, Maria remembered the promise she had made to herself, to rebuild her life. She took a moment to close her eyes and envision what lay ahead, a fresh start filled with possibilities. The cold breeze whispered encouragement, reminding her that every journey has its struggles but also its rewards. With renewed determination, Maria stood up and shook off the dust from her dress. She might be weary and hungry, but she was still alive. As she continued down the path, each step became a symbol of hope, a testament to her strength as she faced the unknown wilderness before her. As Maria continued down the rocky path, the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting long shadows across the desert. She felt a cool breeze rustle through the sparse vegetation, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed to whisper promises of relief. However, that brief moment of comfort quickly dissolved as dark clouds began to roll in from the distance. The air thickened, and an uneasy feeling settled in her stomach. Suddenly, the wind picked up speed, howling like an angry beast. Maria's heart raced as she glanced up at the sky, now a tumultuous mix of grey and black. The first drops of rain splattered against her skin, sending a chill through her body. She had heard stories about sudden storms in these parts, intense enough to wash away everything in their path. Panic set in as the rain turned into a downpour within moments, drenching her dress and making it nearly impossible to see. With no time to waste, Maria scanned her surroundings for shelter. Just ahead, she spotted a faint outline of what appeared to be a small village nestled against the mountainside. Driven by desperation, she pushed herself forward, stumbling over rocks and trying to keep her footing on the slick ground. As she neared the village, she could see wooden houses with smoke curling from chimneys, signs of life tucked away from the storm. Maria dashed toward one of them, hoping it would provide refuge from the relentless rain. She knocked on the door with trembling hands, fear creeping back into her heart. A kind face appeared in the doorway, a woman with warm eyes and an inviting smile. "Come in. You'll catch your death out there," she said urgently. As Maria stepped inside and shook off raindrops like a weary traveler finally finding home, she felt a glimmer of hope spark within her once again. Perhaps this storm was not just an obstacle but also a chance for new beginnings amidst unexpected kindness. Inside the cozy home, Maria felt warmth envelop her like a soft blanket as she shook off the rain. The woman who had welcomed her in quickly set about lighting a fire in the hearth, her movements efficient and practiced. Just then, a tall figure appeared at the doorway, a man with friendly blue eyes and a kind smile, carrying an armful of firewood. "Looks like you've brought home a washed-up traveler, Helen," he said, chuckling as he tossed the wood into the fireplace. He turned to Maria, his expression shifting to concern. "Are you all right? You look like you've been through a storm, and it seems you have." Grateful for the stranger's kindness, Maria nodded shyly. "I'm okay, just lost and weary." She shivered slightly, recalling how cold and alone she had felt just moments ago. "I'm Tom," he introduced himself, extending a hand. Maria took it, feeling the strength in his grip. "You're welcome to stay as long as you need. We have plenty of food, Helen always makes too much." As he spoke, Helen served warm stew in bowls that were filled to the brim with steaming goodness. The rich aroma wafted through the air like a warm hug. With each spoonful, Maria could feel her body relaxing as she filled her stomach for the first time in what felt like ages. "Thank you so much," she said between bites, feeling grateful to be cared for after her long journey. Tom watched her with gentle eyes, sensing her weariness but also the flicker of hope beneath her exhaustion. "We've all faced hard times," he remarked softly. "But sometimes kindness can mend more than we realize." In that moment, as she enjoyed not only food but also warm company, Maria felt a surge of gratitude and safety wash over her. This tiny village was beginning to feel like more than just shelter, it was becoming a place where new beginnings might sprout from the ashes of her past. As the days passed in the warm embrace of Tom and Helen's home, Maria began to feel a sense of belonging she hadn't expected. Every evening, after finishing dinner, they would gather around the flickering fire, and Tom would share stories about life on the farm. His tales painted vivid pictures of sunny mornings spent tending to rows of vegetables, playful animals running through the fields, and the rhythm of the seasons that shaped his life. Tom spoke with a passion that was infectious. "You see," he said, chuckling softly, "farming teaches you patience. You can't rush things like crops or animals. They take time and care to grow. Maria listened intently, feeling her heart lighten as he recounted the challenges he'd faced, from stubborn sheep to unexpected storms. Each story revealed a part of him that was grounded in kindness and determination, an attitude she found inspiring. One evening, as the fire crackled softly, Maria asked him, "How did you learn to care for others so well?" Tom paused, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Well, I grew up here, surrounded by family and friends who taught me the value of helping one another. When someone is in need, it's important to step up," he replied earnestly. "Life can be tough, but sometimes a little kindness can make all the difference." Maria nodded, reflecting on her own experiences. How far she had come from that lonely wedding day. In Tom's stories, she began to see a glimpse of her potential, a future where she could find ways to give back just as he had. Their friendship grew stronger as they spent more time together, sharing laughter and discovering common interests. Maria felt more alive with each story and shared moment. In Tom's presence, she was learning not only about caring for others but also about opening her heart again, and what it truly meant to find hope in unexpected places. In the quiet moments after dinner, as the fire crackled gently in the hearth, Maria often found herself lost in thought. The warmth of Tom and Helen's home wrapped around her, yet her mind drifted back to that fateful day when she stood alone at the altar. Memories flooded her, visions of the guests seated expectantly, the music playing softly, and her heart racing with anticipation. But then the memory twisted into one of heartbreak as she recalled the moment her groom turned away, leaving her standing in despair. Sitting on a cozy chair with a soft blanket draped over her knees, Maria began to unpack those feelings of abandonment and confusion. Why had she ever felt so certain about love? Was it all just a mirage? Caught up in dreams that crumbled like sandcastles, she had built walls around herself to protect against further hurt. Yet here with Tom and Helen, she was starting to see that maybe those walls were keeping out more than just pain, they were also keeping out the possibility of joy. As Tom shared stories filled with laughter and lessons learned from his farm life, Maria felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. She realized how crucial it was to let go of past hurts, to forgive not only others but also herself for allowing vulnerability to feel like weakness. Watching Tom's genuine kindness made her reflect on how love could manifest in different forms: friendship, compassion, and support. With each passing day in this mountain village, Maria slowly began to heal. Conversations with Tom helped her process the emotions she had tucked away for too long. She found herself laughing more freely and sharing bits of her own story as well, feeling lighter with every word spoken. It became clear that while scars from her past might always remain, they no longer had to define her future. In this nurturing environment, Maria started envisioning a life filled with new relationships and possibilities, one step at a time toward reclaiming her heart. One sunny morning, as the scent of fresh earth filled the air, Tom approached Maria with a bright smile. "I could really use an extra pair of hands around the farm," he said, his eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. "Would you be interested in helping me out? It might be a good way for you to learn more about life here." Maria's heart leaped at the thought. For so long, she had felt lost and aimless, but now, the idea of working on the farm sparked a sense of purpose within her. "I would love to," she replied eagerly, feeling a renewed energy flow through her. Tom showed her the ropes as they spent their days planting seeds, tending to animals, and learning about the cycle of growth. Maria found joy in the rhythm of farm life, the early mornings filled with chirping birds and the satisfaction that came from hard work. Each task felt meaningful, as if she was not just planting crops but also sowing seeds of hope for her own future. As she worked alongside Tom, Maria began to forge connections with the local community. Neighbors would come by to lend a hand or share stories over cups of steaming coffee. She learned how intertwined their lives were, each person supporting one another during tough times. It reminded her of Tom's words about kindness and community. With every passing day on the farm, Maria's confidence grew. She discovered strengths within herself that she hadn't known existed, resilience and creativity blossomed like wildflowers after rain. The more she engaged with others and contributed to their shared goals, the more she felt a sense of belonging. No longer haunted by her past, Maria embraced her new life in the mountain village. She was becoming part of something bigger, a tapestry woven together by shared experiences and mutual support. As autumn approached and the leaves turned golden, Maria realized that this chapter was just beginning. She was finally reclaiming her heart amidst laughter, friendship, and purpose in Tom's world. As autumn rolled in, the beauty of the changing leaves brought both excitement and challenges to the farm. One day, dark clouds gathered quickly on the horizon, and Tom glanced up, concern creasing his brow. "We need to secure the animals," he said, urgency in his voice. Maria felt a rush of adrenaline. She had grown to care for the animals on the farm and wasn't about to let anything happen to them. Together, they raced outside as the wind picked up, howling through the trees. They hurried to the barn, where the goats and chickens were already restless with anxiety. Maria and Tom worked side by side, their movements in sync as they locked up the barn doors and made sure each animal was safe inside. Rain began to pour down heavily, soaking them instantly, but neither of them paused. Just like life, Tom shouted over the storm's roar. "You never know when something's going to come at you. It's about how you face it together." Maria nodded, feeling that bond growing stronger amid the chaos. They finished securing everything just in time and took refuge inside the barn, their laughter mingling with the sound of raindrops hitting the roof. As they sat there catching their breath, Maria looked into Tom's eyes and felt gratitude swell within her. He had been there through every challenge, a guiding presence that made her feel brave enough to face any storm. "Thank you for believing in me," she said softly. Tom smiled back, his blue eyes warm with understanding. "You've shown so much strength already. We're partners in this." Days turned into weeks, and with each shared task, from caring for sick animals to planting new crops, they faced both laughter and difficulties together. The bond between them deepened as they learned to rely on one another and discovered strengths they hadn't known existed within themselves. Through working together on the farm, Maria began to realize that while storms would always come, facing them alongside someone who cared made all the difference. She felt a newfound sense of courage blooming in her heart, one that made her feel capable of overcoming anything life threw her way, especially with Tom by her side. One crisp morning, as the sun peeked over the horizon, Maria noticed one of the goats, Daisy, was acting strangely. The little animal lay down apart from the others, her usually bright eyes dull and her breathing heavy. Concern washed over Maria, and she immediately rushed to Tom, who was tending to the chickens nearby. "Tom! I think something is wrong with Daisy," Maria exclaimed, her voice filled with urgency. Tom quickly followed her to the pen, kneeling beside the goat to assess the situation. "She looks sick," he said, frowning. "We need to check her temperature and see if she's eaten anything unusual." With Tom's guidance, Maria took a deep breath and stepped into action. She gently lifted Daisy's head and spoke softly to her, trying to soothe the frightened creature. "It's okay, girl. We're going to help you." Tom watched as Maria held the goat with a comforting touch, impressed by her nurturing spirit. Together, they took Daisy into the barn for a closer examination. Maria remembered some advice she had heard from Helen about caring for sick animals and quickly applied it. She helped Tom mix a remedy of herbs and water, carefully administering it to Daisy while keeping her calm. After what felt like an eternity of worry and care, Daisy's eyes began to brighten, and her breathing steadied. Maria felt a surge of relief wash over her as she patted Daisy gently. "I think she's going to be okay," she said, a smile breaking across her face. Tom grinned widely, pride evident in his expression. "You did great, Maria. You have a natural gift for this." His words warmed her heart, and she realized that this experience had shown not only her strength but also her ability to nurture life. In that moment, Maria understood how far she had come since that lonely day when she left her past behind. She was no longer just a lost soul, she was becoming someone capable of making a difference, someone who could care for others. With newfound confidence blooming within her, Maria felt ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, alongside Tom and in their vibrant community. As the leaves turned vibrant shades of red and gold, the bond between Maria and Tom continued to deepen. One evening, after a long day of working on the farm, they sat side by side on the porch as the sun dipped below the mountains. The air was cool, filled with the smell of fallen leaves and wood smoke from nearby cabins. Maria leaned back, feeling a contentment she hadn't known in years. "I really appreciate everything you've done for me," she said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "You helped me find my strength again." Tom glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "You've brought so much to this place, Maria. It's not just me helping you, you are helping all of us too." Their exchanges flowed easily, each one filled with sincerity and laughter. They worked tirelessly through challenges, from fixing fences to caring for sick animals, finding joy in simply being together. In those moments, Maria began to realize that what they shared was far more than friendship, it was a deep connection built on trust and support. One cold afternoon, however, things took a turn when a sudden illness swept through their livestock, threatening the well-being of both the farm and their community. Concern washed over everyone as they scrambled to care for the animals. Maria felt panic rise within her but looked over at Tom, who remained calm as he directed the others. "Let's work together," he said reassuringly to everyone gathered. "We can get through this." Inspired by Tom's resolve, Maria stepped up without hesitation, offering suggestions and assistance as they treated each animal. Through long hours and countless worries, they faced this challenge side by side, relying on each other's strengths to navigate through the storm. With every obstacle they overcame together, Maria felt her heart swell with affection for Tom. It became clear to her that this partnership was something special. There was a warmth growing between them that went beyond their shared experiences. As they stepped out into the crisp evening air after tending to the last animal, Maria found herself looking at Tom differently. She could no longer deny that her feelings had blossomed into something deeper, a love rooted in admiration and genuine care for one another. With that realization came an overwhelming sense of hope for what their future together might hold. Facing life's challenges united only made them stronger. As winter approached and the first snowflakes began to fall, Maria stood outside on the porch of the cozy farmhouse, taking in the beauty of her surroundings. The mountains, draped in white, looked like a scene from a postcard. This place had become her home, filled with laughter, hard work, and a newfound sense of belonging. Reflecting on her journey, Maria felt a profound transformation within herself. Once a heartbroken bride lost in despair, she had grown into a confident woman who embraced life's challenges with grace. Each experience on the farm had shaped her, from caring for animals to forming deep connections with Tom and their community. She had learned to open her heart again and to trust in love. Tom stepped out beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders as they watched the snowflakes dance in the air. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he said softly. Maria nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude and warmth for both the landscape and the man by her side. In that moment, she realized how far she had come. The pain of her past no longer held power over her, instead, it had forged resilience and strength that she never knew she possessed. Tom had not only supported her through hard times but had also shown her the beauty of partnership and shared dreams. "I'm so grateful for you," Maria said, turning to face him. "You helped me find my way back to myself." Tom's gaze met hers with sincerity, and she could see the affection shining in his eyes. As they stood together against the backdrop of the snowy mountains, Maria felt ready to embrace whatever came next. With Tom by her side, she was excited about the future they could build together, a future filled with love, laughter, and new beginnings. No longer just surviving but truly living, Maria welcomed this new chapter with an open heart, ready to explore all that life had to offer alongside someone who understood and cared for her deeply.